Welcome to Chaotic Harmony. My name is John.
This is Crystal. We talk about the joys and the challenges of teaching music in the elementary school classroom.
We share struggles, we brainstorm solutions.
And we would love to have you join us.
Welcome to another episode of Chaotic Harmony, episode 113 for the week of May the 14th. I'm one of your hosts, Jonathan Seligman, and today I am joined by the classy nerd himself, Genesis Santos. Hello, Genesis.
Hey, man. How's it going?
Dude, it's going all right. It is. When does your school end?
I end the first week of June.
Okay, so we're on the same schedule.
Three more Mondays, yeah. I think,
Yeah.
right?
How
Am I
are
doing
you-
the math correctly?
I think so. Like we've started doing this whole thing on our whiteboard and
Yeah.
like the whole how many days left. Some people like to have it like the last day be day zero. No. And so I have to constantly just change it just to make sure. So I think we have about 19 days left.
Okay.
Yeah. I love my kids, but man,
That sounds
I
right.
am ready for a break. How is it on your end?
Yes. It's testing season.
Okay.
So if you're like me, like people listening, you're in the middle of testing season. So it's that. So schedules are wonky, performances are expected, and the light at the end of the tunnel is right there. So
Gotcha.
that's where I'm at.
So first off, if you don't know who Genesis is, he's been on the podcast a couple times. He's one of our Arosa friends from up north, and we'll get more into that in a bit. But before all that, once again, this is Chaotic Harmony, the podcast we talk about the joys, struggles, and all things adjacent to elementary music. A bit of housekeeping. Last week, we did our 100th episode where Crystal and I reflected on 6 years of Chaotic Harmony, it was funny us talking back like, oh, wait, hold up. Our first season was right before COVID, and we ended actually in the beginning of COVID, which mind-boggling.
Yeah.
But yeah. So we reflected on that for 6 years. Do check that out. Especially if you're an older listener, there's a lot of nice stuff for that. And there's going to be some things changing. So go check that out. Next week, we are doing a session on performances, which actually is Genesis. So don't talk anymore about performances. We'll have you actually on next week with Crystal and myself. And we'll be chatting about our plans for concerts, how that looks like for us, maybe what we might want to change for next year, et cetera, et cetera. But alas, Genesis. As I've been telling my friends about this episode, there's been a couple people saying, "Can you please name this episode the Genesis of Genesis Santos?" Like, it's just not exactly SEO friendly, but I would like you've been on our podcast several times, and we mentioned a bit about what's been changing with Chaotic Harmony. I forgot to mention in the last episode that we're inserting more rotating faces and rotating voices for this podcast, including Jamie and John, Jasmine Ma, Sasha Stone, and also you, Genesis.
Me?
So, yes, you.
This guy.
And so we've been friends for a bit, and our audience has heard your voice several times. But to those who don't know you, can we just start with what we like to call our program notes? So how long have you been teaching? Where did you grow up? Let's start with where did you grow up exactly?
Okay. So the genesis of it all, if we're gonna lean into it, I grew up in Los Angeles, specifically in an area known as the Beach Cities. So it's amalgamation of like different beach towns in LA. I grew up in an area called Redondo Beach. Its sort of claim to fame is 2 things. There's the like volleyball tournaments that happen yearly, like the professional ones, and it was like one of the birthplaces of, if you're like into consuming beverages of a kind. It's I believe, if I'm remembering my history correctly, it was one of the starts in Los Angeles of where tiki culture was began. So that's a little claim to fame of my little town. But I grew up there. My parents immigrated from the Philippines. They actually married here in the United States. They met and married here. The reason why my dad named me Genesis, even though I am the second child in the family.
That is curious.
Yes.
Go for it.
Is because I was the firstborn boy on my dad's side of the family to be born in the United States. And so because of that, my dad wanted to like mark that. And so he named me Genesis. And then, grew up in Los Angeles, eventually went to San Diego for college. Go Aztecs, SDSU.
Go Padres.
Spent good. We'll get into that later. We'll get into that later.
Good thing Mark isn't here. My goodness.
Yeah. I'm surprised we're not wearing the hats. Yeah. Okay. So did that. Went to SDSU. Had an amazing, eye-opening experience there in the music program that we'll get to later. I feel like in my story, and then eventually made it up to Northern California to follow my now partner up here, who got a job literally right out of college, like on her graduation day.
Oh wow.
She literally got a job offer, and so okay, I was like, I'm gonna follow you up, and I've been here for the last 10 years.
That's
So
awesome.
that's a little bit of like my like career journey of like big main points.
Yeah. So Redondo Beach, I know little about it. I know a little more now. Tiki
Yeah.
culture and
Hmm.
volleyball, and you. And so the
Yes.
thing is, I know that arts in California is kind of variant, whatnot, as far as
Yes.
elementary arts specifically. Did you have an arts background in the elementary realm?
Yes, I did. So I went to a private school growing up, South Bay Junior Academy. It's this little tiny private school in Torrance, California.
Mm.
And we had a unique situation where we did have sort of like a music exposure program growing up, all the way from kindergarten to, at the time, it went to 10th grade. So you went to kindergarten to 10th grade at this school. And
K to
our
10,
music teacher, get K to 10, not K 12,
not K
not
12.
K 8,
And also, this
K
is the United
10.
States where, we
Yes.
end at 12th grade. I know
Yes.
we've talked about this in person. What was that
Yes.
like?
It
Did you
was
also
an
finish?
interesting realm. No.
Okay.
So there's also an interesting story about that that I'll get to later on.
Sure, sure. Okay, okay.
Um, okay. So back to the art part though.
Yes.
What was interesting about this school as far as the arts were concerned is the classroom teachers did like arts projects with us, like visual arts with us. But when it came to the music side of things, our principal was our music teacher for a while.
Oh, okay.
Our principal would come in and she would sing songs with us. She would come in and like we would do like little dance things together, up to a certain grade level. I forget where. And then up until when I got to fifth grade, fourth grade, a new teacher came in, noticed that there was not a music program established. His name was Audrey Scarborough. And he came in, and the next year, when I was in fifth grade, started a band program from scratch.
That's awesome.
So we
Wow.
started a band program from scratch. But remember, we started in his classroom. There was a bunch of us. We got like Essential Elements 2000. I remember that. We started hashing that out all together. We did performances. It blew up. And the program blew up while I was there too. I was in it until I promoted, and it was there for quite some time. Like there was a lot of like movement going on at the school, so was able to have that experience in like my elementary slash middle school realm, and then I then decided to leave private school and go to public school.
And
And
this
one
was
of
which grade again?
the
Sorry.
this is me now going into ninth grade.
Ninth grade. Okay. Gotcha.
This is me
Before you
now
go
going
into
into
ninth
ninth.
grade, if I have some,
Yes.
I have curiosities. A
Yes.
principal being your music teacher, how did that affect
Yes.
your relationship with the principal? Because I know, like, oftentimes every school is different. Like, oftentimes, like, the principal
Mhm.
is, the last person you want to meet. And so, for you, what was that like having your principal as the music teacher?
So my principal, her name is Susan Vlach from there. She is a lovely woman, like overall. The culture at this private school is like everyone is like you and your class are you and your class. There is no other class, right? You know how most grade levels have maybe two teachers for
Mm.
fifth grade, or at my particular situation, like at my school, Las Palmas Elementary, we have like five teachers per grade level
Wow,
or
five?
six
How
teachers per
many
grade. Yeah.
how many students do you have at Las Palmas?
Las Palmas. On my side of the campus, I believe we have like close to 400, 500 students, and that's just third through sixth grade. And then the other side of campus, we have, so I work at West Campus, or sorry, East Campus right now. And West Campus is across the parking lot, or the Black Sea as I call it. And that is TK through 2.
How big is your campus? I know
It's
we're gonna get
big.
to the details in a bit, but like,
Yeah.
wow. Wait,
It's
so
our
this
biggest
is it?
elementary school in our school district.
There's a west side and an east side, or like
There's
is
a
there?
west side of campus and there's a
Okay.
north and south.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll get to that all those details in a bit. But back
Mhm.
to your elementary. So you had a great principal. It was, and you were saying
Yes.
how your class sizes were very small to the point where
Yes.
like, there was no cohorts. It was just class.
Yes, you were the class. Like you were literally friends and you grew up with these people
Okay.
like going on. Like even to this day, I have friends from elementary school that I still like keep in touch and hang out with because our bonds building up from that class was like they were basically like brothers and sisters to me. Like when we grew up because we like everyone knew everyone. And
Yeah.
like you knew the grade level above you too, and you knew the grade level below you, and then you knew everyone's brothers and sisters and everything. It was like a really, really close niche like community
What were your thoughts on that? Like in
in a
both
space.
at the time and in retrospect, like have like small
Um,
schools like that.
in my experience looking back at it, I appreciated a lot because in that specific private school that I grew up in, um, there was no one dominating like demographic.
Hmm. Okay.
It was really like what's the word I'm looking for? Um, it was just like really, really diverse
Okay.
already. Like, you know, we had one of the things that we grew up doing was multicultural day is what we called it.
Hmm.
And people would dress up in, you know, a garb from their respective cultures. And, you know, we would spend time talking about it, learning from it from people. And then not only that, but we would bring food
That's awesome.
and we would put stations outside of every classroom and you would start out with eating at your grade levels station and so like it would be a smorgasbord of different things, right? um and then afterwards they would open it up and then you get to pop around to the other classes and try like the different stuff that they have over there and experience that and talk. And so like there was that whole fun experience of like we celebrated their diversity in that
Mm, mm.
in that school.
And it wasn't just theoretical. It was like this is our population. This is
Yeah,
who we are. And so we're here to celebrate not just diverse cultures, but also our people here. That's cool. That's really awesome.
exactly. And so like they gave you that opportunity too to like even talk about it. Like we set up a day or like building up to that day, like, you know, we talked about backgrounds and how people came and immigration and things like that
Mm,
at a private, you know, school. And it was amazing to like experience that. And being a part of that since, you know, preschool to eighth grade, which I went to, I thought every school was like this.
mm. So what was it
That was
like
my
then?
world,
When
right?
you went to public school, did that shatter or like what was it like?
Yeah, it did shatter a lot for me in that respect because I then went to a primarily diverse school culture where we celebrated that, right? And I went to a very well-performing public school. Like there were blue ribbon public school kind of thing. AP classes were like a must kind of thing. It was in a well-to-do area. Um, and it was predominantly Caucasian.
Okay, got you.
It was a probably Caucasian school. And then the next would be probably like Asian American, Jewish, and then very little like Pacific Islander, Hispanic kind of thing going around. So, and given also the population, like, you know, how tax dollars are tied to like the school and things like
Right.
that, this was a very well funded school.
So what was that
Like the arts
culture? Sorry, finish your thought. My bad.
sorry so like the arts was overly like compared to a lot of things that are out there,
Hmm.
like the arts were thriving at this
Oh,
place.
okay.
Like
Hmm.
like music productions like were licensed from, and like they were like stage hands building stage props. We had a dedicated orchestra teacher, we had a dedicated choir teacher, we had a dedicated band teacher, all teaching not just the ensembles but also like in addition to arts. We had a dedicated theater teacher going on, and they taught several things as well, right? Competitions constantly. When it came time to performing season, a lot of the performances were the students acting on stage and students also being in the pit,
Yep. Yep.
like that kind of culture, right? So it was kind of like being a part of that growing up was a big, and I appreciated that part, but there was also this like social dynamic that I never really figured out in high school.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I'm curious. As for me, the private schools that I've attended have always been very homogenized,
Hmm.
and the public schools were the ones that were diverse, with exception of
Hmm.
my elementary school. And so when you're sharing this narrative, it's very like, oh, that's curious, whatnot. What,
Yeah.
and I know for me personally, going from a rather diverse public high school to a private university, um, it was quite the cultural whiplash. How is it like for you, for your perspective, like on like, well, I mean, you had good, so you said you had arts in your elementary, which
Hmm.
is a rarity
Yeah.
in California, and you had
Hmm.
continued arts. Looking like, first off, was there any like interesting weird connections as you transition from private school to the public school in regards to the arts? Was there any like weird whiplash in that regard or no?
Oh yeah, there was a big one. The biggest one is, and it followed me still till college. It was so much of a gap, kind of when you start an arts program versus having an established arts program.
Hmm.
When you're
Okay.
starting out,
Yeah.
right, you're figuring out, all the nuts and bolts of running one, but also like, teaching it, also experiencing it, also, how to keep things going and well maintained and kind of thing. So like my teacher at the time was, learning that on the fly in addition to teaching the program and building the program versus going into a high school where there was already a tradition of success,
Yeah.
right? And established and being there for a while, where like, hey, we expect you to have these skills already and things and moving on. And the my experience in like band, right, was a little bit more organic kind of thing because we didn't stick to like the fest like I didn't know about like festival repertoire until I got to high school, right? We just
Okay.
There was a lot of shifts in my elementary journey in band specifically where we started out with like essential elements and we like did the things, but then all of a sudden the following year we kind of turned into a jazz band.
Wait. Sorry. This is
And
the your middle school, right? The K to
yeah, this
eight.
is the middle
Okay.
school,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
the K to 8 kind of feel. We kind of turned into a jazz band, and we studied the essential elements jazz book. We brought in some like my teacher's jazz friends. We did that, and then the year after, oh hey, there is this music festival within like our network, so we're gonna do that. We're gonna pivot back to learning like more like classical style music stuff to get ready for this. So it was like it was a bit running around
Yeah. Yeah.
versus like when I got to high school, it's like, oh hey, we have a dedicated jazz band, we have a dedicated wind ensemble, we have a dedicated um what's it called? Pep band. We have a dedicated another wind playing. We have a dedicated orchestra, and that kind of like, oh, there's actually like specific things here. Like
Right.
I was learning like new things constantly because the development of from start to where I was going, right? It was very like we're kind of figuring this out together, teachers and students, versus this is what it is. This is what you're coming into.
Right. Right. So something that I mean, since the beginning, I've always mentioned is that I call you the classy nerd, because I find that you have a lot of insight. A lot of actually music educators that have interacted with you have
Mhm.
always like, said, like, for example, I think it was Rachel saying, "Yeah, you should have Genesis on the podcast. He has a lot of insight just after meeting you at the API
Yeah.
session, and like you have a lot of wisdom, and I do attest to that. Like even this conversation, you see things in a bigger perspective. Um,
Mm.
as a music educator that does see things at a more broad perspective, what is something that you have seen that you wish to change, to grow, to be altered? Like something like where do you see a bottleneck that you wish to open up? I know it's a very broad question, but what's something that you want
Oh
to see
man,
grow?
there's a lot.
Yeah.
Man, this episode might take like 2 hours, man.
It's just a little taste, a little taste. Maybe we can
Yeah.
expound upon it
Yeah, we can spend on it
later
more.
on.
I think one of the big things that I personally struggle with institutional wise within like our field is this top down of I'm going to music school either to be a professional musician, play in symphonies, play concertos, right? Do be part of opera companies, be part of this and that and high quality, which is an amazing endeavor. And then you have the other aspect, which is I'm going to be a music teacher, but I am going to be teaching at universities and high schools and middle schools. I can say that because that was me.
Hmm.
I went into music school thinking that I was going to be a band director at a high school like the one I grew up in and continue a legacy of greatness, right?
Mm.
A very, very valid and important sort of quality to have when you are in that realm. But in some places and spaces, right? And I can say from experience when it comes to credential programs, we kind of put the elementary slot to the wayside, given the fact that we have not had it in here in California for X amount of years. Because again, as stated previously, we've had sort of this experience that, hey, band starts in middle school,
Mm. Mm.
orchestra starts in middle school, choir starts in middle school. And if you're fortunate to have it at the elementary level, most programs follow the after school model, which is also in a struggle in itself if you've been in the industry and have been in the space. Like after school, you're competing with a lot of different things.
Could you actually add on to that? Because something that I really love about the Save the Music grant is that it requires teachers to teach band during school hours.
Mm-hmm.
And when I first started as an elementary music teacher, I was teaching after school choir, and I felt like, oh, okay, that's been during school. Okay, that creates some issues, but let's try it out. And I've grown to like the model that it's during school hours.
Mm-hmm.
But for you, you notice that there are issues when it's after school. Can you please expound upon that?
The issues is not because students aren't interested, right? The issue is that there's a lot of options, which is a
Mm,
great thing, right? Students should be given options,
yeah.
right? They should be at an elementary level, middle school level, high school level, exposures to be able to do things,
Hmm.
right? But that's hard for any program, right? Given it sports, given it, a theater class after school, because now students have choice in things and they try it and they're like, this may not be for me kind of thing, right? And so that's great and that's beautiful, but keeping a program prolonged, like for that thing, like creating something that has sort of a weight to the name is the way that I'm thinking about it right now. Is it's harder to build, right? Building that sort of like tradition at that school of like, hey, choir does this, band does this, but it's after school, right? And then let alone you're dealing with parents who have need to pick up their kids after school so they can go to X club, they go to X sort of what is it, tutoring, sort of after school thing, other things, right? And I believe students should have options. I think as an academic subject, right? As an academic subject, music, visual art, right? PE, those kind of things need to be during the school day, right? And finding a schedule that works for everyone to make sure, like, hey, these students need these experiences to figure out who they are as a kid, right? They can start figuring that at sixth grade. I mean, that's why you have those angsty sixth graders, because they're trying to figure out who they are. I mean, it starts
Yeah.
there.
Hmm. And on top of that, also like the competing element, like
Yeah.
on those who have less means, those who are
Hmm.
bussed in, after school is
Exactly.
not even an option for them. And so you limit the options for those individuals
Hmm.
because they don't have the ability to be picked up by their parents for
Hmm.
and for X reason or whatnot. So, but then you're leaning more into like the element of like if we well, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm kind of feeling
Hmm.
also from the academic perspective, if we want to be taken seriously, I don't know if that's the right term, but if you wanted to be taking
Hmm.
like that this is not just something we do. Like if you want to build something, it has to be during school hours. Is that
Yeah.
am I reading you correct?
Yeah, you are reading me correctly. That is literally like on the nose. I think there should be after school endeavors related to the arts, related to whatever, but just like how students have to have PE during the day now, right? Just how students have to do math during the day and whatnot during the day, right? I think that the opportunities that we give them need to be during the school day. How that works, definitely negotiations between, the 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 principal and the teachers and kind of how that goes on, if since we're in this interesting space of music returning officially back to the classrooms kind of thing with this Prop 28 endeavor in our state, right? There's
Pause.
a lot of things that are going to go need to happen.
Sorry, 1 second. My battery died. Okay, so do you remember what we were talking about? Sorry.
So I think I was talking about the idea that um had to do with
In schools.
in school, right? Just how like it's an academic subject. You just want to make sure that because this is an academic subject, that we have to make sure that we need to do our best, right? To make sure that these academic subjects are being treated as academic subjects
Mm,
during the
mm.
school day, just like how math and ELA and all of those things that students have to, do, right? During the school day to become a well-rounded educated student, educated person, contributing citizen,
Yeah.
right? We need to make sure that we negotiate that time so that way they do get to be these rerounded and have those exposures and experiences.
Mm. But you mentioned top down. Like that.
Yes. So here's where I'm
So
getting with that
yes.
top
Oh,
down
go for it. Yeah.
idea is that there's a lot in my personal experience here in California in, is that a lot of the credentialing programs put teachers, put new teachers in middle school or high school spaces, and very little in the elementary spaces. Okay. Now, I'm no mathematician, but if you look at any school district, what type of school or do we have more of? Elementary schools,
Yeah.
right? There is a need even right now in California that we need more music teachers in general. And the driest pond right now is that of elementary,
Mm.
because now because it hasn't been existing in so long and we have so much, they're going to be looking for people. We need people in these spaces. I think one of the greatest quotes that I experienced that made me consider being an elementary music teacher, Miss Debbie Burton.
Mm. Yes. I know Debbie.
Yes, I was fortunate to watch her and her co-teacher. I forget who her co-teacher was at the time, but I
Not
got
Margie, was
to,
it?
I think so.
Margorum?
That's, yeah, I think
Okay.
that name rings a bell.
Those two work together
Um,
really well. But yeah.
I got the privilege of watching them work with elementary students and seeing what it looks like to do musical things, to make music, to create music, right? In a space that it didn't feel like it was work. It looked like there was an enjoyment, there was a level of rigor, right, going on, and it was amazing to me. And when she came to our practicum class later that week or the week after, I remember her saying that we need good teachers at middle school and high school level, but we need great teachers to inspire elementary kiddos. Because if we don't inspire those kids, how are we going to get them or at least be interested in the arts later on? If we don't have great teachers inspiring these students to be the best versions of themselves every time they walk into the classroom making music, then they won't see themselves doing it later on.
Mhm. Very much so. I'm especially with the lack of electives that you get in high school and middle school. Like, what's going to stop you? Something that happens all the time in
Mm-hmm.
our sister district or mother district. I don't know. The ones we send our kids to,
Yeah.
is that kids recognize they need to take 2 years of language, and so
Mm-hmm.
across the street they can only take one elective. So they just take language. That is what commonly happens: language,
Mm-hmm.
ASB, or coding. And
Mm-hmm.
especially the third one, coding is like, there is that element of, oh, I can create stuff, I can make stuff. And if we focus so much on just having our kids learn the rigor, learn the stuff that should be later on, not focusing more on the inspiration, more on the
Mm-hmm.
curiosity of what music is, then we're going to lose them. They're not going to go back into music back for middle school, high school. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, preaching to the choir here, but
Exactly.
huh. Okay, so so just to make sure we're on the same page, you're saying that
Mm-hmm.
there needs to be a stronger stress that it's not just that it's top heavy, not that just music education is focused at the middle school, high school, but it is down, up, and up, down. It is through and through.
Yes. I think one of the other greatest quotes that I will quote that gets quoted a lot in the world of elementary music teachers is Piaget.
Mhm.
The work of children is play. And so if you cannot take play seriously, right, then and see that these kids need that sort of like brain shift that what they're doing isn't work, it's play, right? I mean, think about how like Einstein does his things in math, or how like any great does things. To them, they're just playing around,
Yeah.
right? They see things and they're playing around, right? Like even Kobe Bryant, right? One of the things that he was really big about is like, steal from everywhere, right? Use it for yourself, adapt it for yourself, right? We can do the same thing in music. We can do those same things, right? And when you learn to like, oh, if you take this idea or take that idea or take this and try it out, what can you do with it, right? Pose that question, like, what can you do with it?
Mm.
Then ultimately, then the curiosity and interest grows, right? Great teachers, be it math, whatever, right? Go again, make you feel like the thing in front of you, you can do. And I think if they, again, like I said before, if we don't have our kids feel like they can do something with the subject that's in front of them, then like you tell a fish to climb a tree, it will always feel stupid.
Yeah. And the thing is, these aren't fish that we're asking to climb trees. These are kids that can do music. And I think
Exactly.
that's the thing that I see so much about kids checking out. It's not because they don't necessarily like the subject. They feel like they can't
Hmm.
do it. And so they give up. And we then like I often like, I see myself sometimes like we try to push
Hmm.
them to like oh like just have them pull the grit whatnot. And I feel like we're especially right now in this weird liminal space. Now that COVID has passed away, COVID, like, I feel like the first couple of
Hmm.
years of COVID, we were giving our kids a lot of exceptions, and understandably,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, but we're giving our kids a lot of leeway. And now the pendulum is swinging so hard to the other side. We're like, all right, girdle your loins and let's get through this. But like in the same sense, like if we push, like there's this, we got a lot of educators need to find that pendulum balance where we like need to make sure that we aren't, we are not just letting our kids do whatever they want because
Hmm.
there has to be structure, but
Hmm.
also not push them so hard where they don't want to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't think that they're successful
They
or
don't think
can be
that they
successful.
don't think that this is for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. The one
Or
that,
we
but the,
all consume music, right? We all consume music in some form, right? Whether it's we're consuming it through listening or participation or what, right? We have to remember that cultural mind shift that we talked about earlier, right? There are certain things that you can hold on to for a specific subject.
yeah,
Are you going to be a part of it?
I like that. Are you going to be part of it?
Yeah.
Genesis, as you saw, I had a lot more questions. But
Yes,
that
you
just means that
did.
I'm glad that you are joining this chaotic harmony family so we can
Yeah.
dive deep more into it. I honestly, like, as I was listening to you share, I was like, oh, that'd be good to talk about here. Oh, that'd be good. Like,
Love it.
honestly, I think really honestly, the way that you grew up on music education is very, um, I don't know, unique to a nuanced level, like how like you
Yeah.
were part of so many startups essentially, and and
Yes.
I mean, there's a lot that I'm really curious how that's affected how you are as a teacher. We're just gonna have to get you on for. We're gonna have to chat with you more as the
Yes.
episodes roll on more. So
Can
that
I add one
yes,
last thing? I've been wanting to interject this at some point, but I haven't had a time. And for listeners listening, John and I have been trying to have this interview episode for years
yes, we have. That is true.
going on. And there was one thing that has always been on my mind that I want to share when I was given this space. And I do want to share this. This is something that I created back in college. It was a prompt of why are you a music teacher? Why do you want to be a music teacher? And this was in a time where I proved to my parents that I should be in the musical arts. That's probably going to be a story for another day for you all, but it's a great story. If you ever run into me during a conference of some sort, ask how I convinced my parents that I should be doing music. But then this prompt came up, and it kind of was like, how do I convince myself
Mm,
that I need and kind of belong in this space? And I chose this prompt to like really reflect. And since I have the time to share it, I'll share it. It's written down. And every time um, I feel lost as a teacher, I kind of come back to this to reground myself. And I read it probably like 3 to 4 times a year to really think about like, am I holding true to this?
mm.
So my credo, if you would say, my sort of thing, my drive that fuels me, my motto, my mission statement, if you will, as a music teacher in this space is this. I believe that music does not care about your social economic class, your race, ethnicity, your religious beliefs, and even your level of proficiency. Instead, music cares that you pursue it with integrity, create it with reflective self expression, consume it with openness for understanding, and perform it with passion and genuineness.
I like that.
And for me, if I am not feeling like I am doing that in my classroom to inspire my kids to be the best version of myself, then I shouldn't be their music teacher. I shouldn't be in a classroom teaching kids and trying to inspire them to be something that they don't know what they're going to be yet. we're at the age group, right, where the kids are still discovering who they are and what their interests are, right? I want to make sure that my students understand that whatever they go into, albeit music, albeit sports, albeit whatever, right, they have something that they can gravitate towards and do that truly expresses who they are as a person. And if I cannot do that through my music teaching as an educator, then I truly have failed my students. I don't care if they don't meet certain music standards, right, going on. That can always be addressed later.
Of course.
Right? Music standards can always be addressed. I think the last quote I'll end on is by Suzanne Suzuki, which I also wrote down here, is teaching music is not my main purpose. I want to make good citizens. If children here find music from day to day from their birth and leave to play it, they develop sensitivity, discipline, and endurance. They have beautiful hearts. So for anyone listening to this today, remember why you got into this profession.
I feel like there has been a recent downplay on the element of why. Because I feel like a lot of bosses oftentimes just say, focus on the why. Why are you a teacher? And they dismiss the structural or the systemic problems of why being a teacher is difficult. But I think when we neglect that, when we downplay it, we forget the importance of the why. I remember my first year subbing, but when I starting a sub, I realized I was doing something that I didn't like what I was doing, but it felt like it was the right thing to do at the time. It's like I had to reflect back on my philosophy of music, of like why I'm a teacher, and the why is really important. And I'm glad that you are really cognizant on your why, because if we're trying to meet a standard, whether it's imposed on us by someone else or it's been placed on us for whatever reason, but it's not meeting our philosophical why, then we need to rethink what we're doing. And I appreciate your words, Genesis. Like I know we shared before we hit record, it's been a struggle this month. I recognize this past week I've said things and done things that I philosophically didn't align with. So I'll have to chew on what you just shared. And maybe we can chew on it more after the break. Here at Chaotic Harmony, we talk a lot about Orff. And while we aren't Orff-specific teachers, the Orff process plays a big role in the way all the co-hosts at Chaotic Harmony teach. If you keep on hearing this Orff stuff and are curious to learn more, summer is coming, which means a lot of places are teaching Orff Levels, including down here in San Diego. Orff Levels is a 2-week intensive where you learn the Orff process from amazingly seasoned teachers. Honestly, Orff Levels revolutionized not just how I teach, but created a deep bond with all the teachers I trained with. San Diego is having Level 1 from June 30th to July 11th. To register or just to learn more information, you can go to sdorff.org or, for shorter, just click in the show notes. If San Diego is too far away, though, I get it. There are a lot of other options out there, so check those out. But otherwise, if you can make it, go to sdorff.org to sign up for levels. And if you want that San Diego flair, we got you here. Also, in checkout, if you write that Chaotic Harmony sent you, you'll get $50 off. So you can save, 4 burritos while you're down here. So that's sdorff.org. Check it out.
I want to take a quick break and thank my husband, Brian, who's been working behind the scenes producing these episodes every week on all of the platforms and on time. But you need to know that he is first a financial planner for Mission Trails Financial. Mission Trails Financial is a partner that seeks to guide clients in the journey to financial success. They believe that people need a financial advisor that aims to provide strategies for success. Mission Trails Financial helps people navigate investments, tax planning, and insurance. Imagine working with an advisor who isn't tied to specific brands. Mission Trails Financial has a fiduciary responsibility to act in the best interests of their clients by providing independent, objective advice. Their mission is to help clients accomplish their financial goals. As Joe Vitale once said, a goal should scare you a little and excite you a lot. Do yourself a favor and set up a time to chat with Mission Trails Financial. There's no cost for an initial consultation. Visit www.missiontrailsfinancial.com or call 619-419-0238 to schedule a call. You'll be glad you did. We believe that leaning on professionals is how we get ahead. Check out the program notes for more information.
And welcome back to Chaotic Harmony. But before we continue, a hard left turn. Oh, is that left? No, that's left from your perspective. Left turn. There we go.
Yes.
Thank you all so much for being part of this 100+ episode journey. Whether you joined us with our first Arosa episode in season 5 or joined with us today, thank you so much. It means a ton to hear from all y'all, including you, Genesis. Our first time meeting was at, what was it? Salt Lake, right?
Salt Lake, yeah.
Yeah, and like he said, oh yeah, Chaotic Harmony. A. It's like, oh, A. And then we found out we had a lot of mutual friends. So, but you weren't the only one. Thank you all for like just chatting with us. Like seriously, whenever you, as Genesis said, whenever you see us, we're people. We chat with us. We love to hear your thoughts on just different things. So thank you, everyone. And if you want to make sure this podcast keeps on running for 6 more years or beyond, it means a lot if you would support us. So support us, just support the things you love, including us if you care about it. So we have a Patreon, patreon.com/chclassroom, where you can get special merch and other things for the class. If you don't have a buck to toss our way, that's okay. But there are free ways to help us out. You can, leave us a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Go on YouTube. Everyone has a Google account, it seems like, every day. So, just create one. Like us on YouTube. Leave a nice comment. My goodness. I don't know if you know this, Genesis. I feel like YouTube Shorts are the Twitter version of short form videos. There are so many toxic comments. So many. So all y'all, please leave a nice comment. Just, subvert all those numbers. 5 stars only if you're going to be leaving us a review, and all these small things to make sure that we are, keeping on doing this thing and we aren't bought up by, Ask Jeeves. So thank you. So we got our, since we're doing an online episode, we are doing our new game called Fake Sheet. And the rules are simple. I have 10 books. And Genesis, you are to guess which ones are real and which ones are fake.
Shoot, this is like my biggest weakness as a music teacher.
Well, this is then a great exposure time. So if you can get 7 points or more, you could get a Chaotic Harmony t-shirt. What are your thoughts on the color pink?
Color pink.
Yeah.
I love the color pink.
Okay. Well then,
I actually have a jumpsuit. A pink jumpsuit.
Okay. Is it like hot pink, light pink, like?
It's like light pink.
Okay. Yeah. That's
kind
dope.
Of thing.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, then you can just win yourself a pink Chaotic Harmony t-shirt, which
something to match it with.
Exactly. Or have it underneath, and just like.
Yes.
Add
to the collection.
Add to the collection. Are you ready, Genesis?
Yes, I am ready.
All right. First book. My Teacher Has Tattoos. Real book or fake book?
I want to say real book.
My Teacher Has Tattoos. Written by Darren Lopez. Hey, very good. 0.1 on the board. And also, just so you all can know a little bit more, this book is about re-examining stereotyping in the classroom. So go check that out.
Because many teachers do.
Many teachers do. And also, tattoos mean different things. So
to different people.
So recontextualizing it, which is cool.
Yeah.
Book 2. Brown Bear, what do you see? Real book or fake book?
Real book. I remember being read this. It's Eric something, right?
Are you locking it in?
Yes, I'm locking it in. This is definitely a yes.
Brown Bear, what do you see? Written by Bill Martin and Eric Carle. Hey,
there we go.
Yeah. So we were introduced to a lot of Eric Carle books through I think it was, correct me if I'm wrong, Joshua Block. Josh was my movement teacher. It was either Joshua or Dave, but no, Eric, rest in peace, by the way. But great, he has a lot of lovely stuff. And this book specifically is a fun book about a parade of animals. my one
Yes.
sentence version of it. All right, moving on. So you are 2 for 0, which is good. All right,
Yes.
dancing hands. Real book or fake book?
Ooh.
Dancing hands.
I'm gonna say fake book.
Dancing hands. Written by Joanna, Carina, Marquez, and Fran
Ah.
Alvarez. So actually, there's actually a couple of these books, but one of
Okay.
them, this one specifically, is because I saw two of them actually, but this one was originally published in the Philippines in concert with the nonprofit called Room to Read. So it kind of goes along with a performance, which is cool. All right,
Okay.
so
Nice.
your first
First
markdown,
one.
that's okay, but that's okay.
Okay.
There's still a lot more points. Next one.
Okay.
Three cheers for Parker. Real book or fake book?
Oh, this sounds so real. Like it really does. Like I want it to be a book that's like about positivity, about who you are as a person. So that's why we're cheering for Parker. I'm gonna call real.
Three cheers for Parker. Written by Jonathan Seligman. No, it is a fake book,
Oh
but I
no,
like
you could
that
have authored
summary.
the book.
Huh? Okay, well, we
Could
can
have authored
co-author
the
this.
book.
Let's
We
make
can,
that
let's go.
happen.
Let's make it real.
Yeah, let's make it real. Wait, what was you saying? It's about like positivity. What was it?
Yeah, it's like positivity about who you are.
Ooh, okay. Let's make that happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so 2 for 2. All
Two
right.
for two.
So
Okay.
next one. Alpacas here, alpacas there. Real book or fake book?
It sounds silly enough to be a real book.
So you're gonna lock it in?
Yes, I'll lock it in. Yes. Real book.
Alpacas here, alpacas there. Written by Corrie Tillotson. So, yes, a real book. Awesome.
Yes.
And it is
Redemption.
about learning about alpacas in both North and South America.
Love it.
All right. So, three yes. So, you have 3 points. And we
Yes.
have four more books to go. All right. Next one. Duck, duck, what? Real book or fake book?
I'm laughing more of the way that you said it. Duck, duck, what? Mm, I want it to be real just because you said it that way. But I'm gonna go with fake book.
You gonna lock it in?
Yeah, I'm gonna lock it in.
Duck, duck, what? Written by Jonathan Seligman and Genesis Santos. So yeah, good, 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 good.
Hey,
All
another
right,
book
all right, all right.
idea.
I feel like
These
you're
are
feeling
great
this.
titles, by
Yeah.
the way.
Well, thank you. Um, so you right now you have four. You have
Yes.
4 points. You just need three more, and we have four more books. So actually, no. Now we have four more
Okay.
books. Okay.
Okay.
Number 7. The These olive trees.
These olive trees.
These olive trees. Real book or fake book?
Mm, this one's hard.
These olive trees.
Let's go. Now I'm trying to think. Are you trying to trick me with two in a row? Mm, fake book. I'm
These
locking it
olive
in.
trees, written by Ghanameh. So unfortunately, no.
Oh,
Yeah, don't try to play. So
no.
my key thing is I'm not gonna try to do something that's too cruel. So I've shared this with Sasha. I'm not gonna do anything that's cruel. Like
Okay.
wait, I could
Okay.
change like one word or something. Though apparently Duck Duck something was there was a book that said it was Duck Duck blank. But
Yeah.
so this book is about focused on a Palestinian family and their ties to the land. So
Oh,
yeah.
that's lovely.
Hmm. So you gotta get all of these correct in order to win.
Okay.
So
Whew.
all right, it's cleaning day. Let's do it. So
Let's do it.
Grumpy Monkey,
Grumpy monkey.
real book or fake book?
Let's again, it sounds silly enough to be a real book. Real book. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with that. Real book. Locking it in.
Grumpy Monkey, written by Suzanne Lang. Hey, very good.
Yes.
Awesome, awesome. So this is about Jim the chimpanzee is in a terrible mood for no reason. So his friends can't understand it. So just about how can you be in a bad mood in such a beautiful day? So
Yeah.
cool. All right. Two more books. You need two more
Two
points to win.
more.
All right.
All right,
Book
let's go.
nine. Time to chop them trees down. Real book or fake book?
Oh. If this is a real book, I hope it has like how do you spin that? I can't even oh that sounds really hard to spin. All right, I have to call fake book.
Time to chop them trees down. Written by nobody. Hey, okay, so
Hey!
so I yeah. No, hopefully that book never gets written. So
Yeah. I grew up always save the rainforest, right?
uh-huh. No,
So
seriously.
like hearing time to chop the dream, like, wow,
Yeah.
talk about perspective.
Maybe that could be written for like older kids, since then it's about
Yeah.
what happens, how the
Yeah.
characters,
Could
the
be.
character arc changes over time. All right, last one. All right, one more point, one more book.
Okay. Do or
Pete,
die.
Pete the cat.
Oh, real. That's a real book.
You can lock it in.
Yeah, I'm locking that in. I know Pete the cat.
Pete the cat, written by Eric Litwin. Or Mr. Eric. Mr.
Hey,
Eric. All right.
Mr.
In case
Eric.
those who
Yeah.
don't know, Pete, a cat who walks through an array of things, and no matter what, he's content and sings a song. So,
Yes.
Genesis Santos, congratulations. You got yourself a Chaotic
Woo!
Harmony t-shirt. It will be sent to you. And everyone else who I promised a shirt, you'll get it by summer. My apologies. I'm sorry, Olivia. I'm sorry, Rachel, everyone else. Whew, I finally got the poly bag, so we got that working.
Okay.
Dude,
Hey.
Genesis, I'm really glad to have you part of the Chaotic Harmony family and to have
Yeah,
more of these conversations because
of
um,
course.
yeah, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good.
Yeah,
Is
I'm
there
glad to be here. And like, yeah, I'm excited for the future and what this whole thing is gonna be and how it unfolds. It's gonna be
yeah?
exciting.
Um, and so Genesis, is there anything you would like to plug or to share? Any names? You shared so many names, which is awesome. Do you want to reiterate those
Yes.
names you want to share? Anyone you specifically want to share out, or something you're working on, or are you presenting coming up soon? I don't know.
Okay. I will say just shout out to all my music teacher peeps that's out there doing the grind. It's getting close to the end of the year. We all feel it, friends. Hang in there. Again, the light at the end of the tunnel is there. We're almost there.
We're almost there.
If you want to reach out to me specifically, I do have a Instagram account that I rarely use, but I do get notifications on there. It is Mr. Santos Music Teacher on Instagram, and you can find me there. You can also reach out to me at Mr. Santos Music Teacher at Gmail if you want to reach me via email, and I will always respond over there. And I think that's all the plugs I have. Oh, and other if you're looking for a job, right? Right. Shameless plug. I love my district. So if you want to know about how you could work with me, right, and work with me and be under my tutelage, because I will be a mentoring teacher this coming
Oh,
school year.
cool, cool, cool.
So, and if you're brand new to the scene and you pick up what I dished out, and hey, I want to know more from this guy, and you know what, let's see what happens. Join Twin Rivers Unified School District. You can also reach out to my boss, Denise.egan at Twin Rivers at trusd.net. I'll say that again, Denise.egan, EGAN, at trusd.net if you are looking for a music teaching job here in Northern California.
We'll put
If
all
we are
that.
still looking for friends.
We'll put all that in the show notes, by the way. So you
Yes.
have to actually go
Yeah.
stop your car and write down those notes.
Yes.
Awesome. And you can find me at Mr. Seligman, MrSeligman, on all the socials. Go hit up SD Orff. You heard the ad read. We're doing some cool stuff down there. So go check that out. And you can find us at CH Classroom on all the socials. Again, leave a nice comment. Be a nice person. And what?
Sorry, one more plug. I have to also plug in my chapter, AROSA, American River Orff Shulwerk Association. You can find us at americanriver.com to see what we're going to be doing for our upcoming season. You can also reach us out at American River Orff at Gmail if you have any questions about what we're doing and how you can be involved if you live in the local area.
Isn't it AmericanRiver.org.com?
AmericanRiverOrff. Yes, AmericanRiverOrff.com.
Yeah. AmericanRiver.com just showed up as nothing. So heads up, don't go there. Don't do that.
No, don't go there.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. Genesis, we'll see you in the next episode. But everyone else,
yes.
Bye.
Laters.